joining me today is Dr. Dawn Buckingham. She is a candidate for Land Commissioner of Texas in the runoff, which is Tuesday. Dawn, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, it's always great being there in San Angelo. Enjoyed our visit last week. We had a great response, and thanks for having me on.
We were glad to see you and Lieutenant Governor Patrick last week at the airport, and we had a good discussion. And I know that this is a very busy time for you, so thanks for taking time out to see us again.
My pleasure. We all know West Texas is incredibly important, and it's really, really the biggest instrument we have to keep our Texas for future generations. So we love you guys, and we're always happy to be on with you.
And we were talking last week. What is this race? What does it boil down to? What's it about at this point?
You know, it's a very competitive race. Our biggest hurdle is just getting people to understand how important the General Land Office is, who's in this race, and why they should care. And just to run through that really quickly, the General Land Office funds education. We fund our state veterans programs. We steward millions of acres of state lands. We're literally the tip of the spear to defend oil and gas, our history, and the border against what the liberal left is trying to do. We're the guardians of Texas history. You care about little things like the Alamo and the cenotaph. I was the one that threw down the legal challenge that kept the cenotaph out in front instead of being moved around back. And there will be no redefining Texas history under my watch. And our Texas is worth fighting for, and it's a critical time in the state's history. And I look forward to being a part of a successful path moving forward.
And you were coming to us from Houston, that little place over in East Texas. There's something like 4 million people who live there. That's probably a good place to be looking for votes right now.
We are running around the greater Houston area, but all last week and actually earlier this week, we've been everywhere in the state. We've been from Wichita Falls to San Angelo, Midland, Lubbock, El Paso, Alpine, Laredo, down in the valley. We've been all over, but we are spending the rest of early voting in the greater Houston area to talk to those folks, and we'll hit a little bit of Dallas, but we're going to run hard all the way through the tape.
And you have been a standout in this primary and also in the runoff election, in that you've been endorsed by so many people, but at the top of that list of endorsements is Donald Trump.
You're exactly right. You know, it's funny. President Trump was in Austin for a rally on Saturday, and he and I got to chat, and I was really honored. He pulled me aside and he said, "Dawn, I trust you to get that border wall built, to defend our Texas history, to defend oil and gas against what the left is going to do." And so we're just happy to have his support, happy to have the support of Rick Perry, Dan Patrick, Ted Cruz, an amazing assortment, all of the Border Patrol Association, all of our law enforcement organizations, our Tea Party groups. We're seeing a really wide base of support. And our ask to everybody is just join those folks in supporting us and help us get to the finish line so we can do great things for Texas.
And I know it's been a long several months for you for the primary election, and at this point, what do you tell voters? What do you tell them to get them to the polls after they're tired of voting as well?
They are, and we're just keep reinforcing how incredibly important this office is to Texas. Really, I feel we're at the epicenter of the spiritual battles for the hearts and minds, not just of our state, but of our country. When you look at the last presidential electoral map, what you see is the urban areas are blue, but all of rural America is red. It is rural Texas and rural America that is literally saving our state and our nation. That's why we spent so much time out in rural Texas in this campaign. But our message to everybody is, look, we love you, we care about you, but we need you to engage. This is important. We want to keep Texas our Texas for the future generations.
And this particular race will be decided on Tuesday, the 24th of May. Let's look beyond that to the November general election. In particular, I believe you'll have a Green Party candidate and a Democrat in the general election. I know you don't want to look past Tuesday right now, but let's take a look at the competition there.
Sure. You know, the Democrats that are vying for this seat are in a runoff as well. And what amazes me is how they are just pushing each other over, trying to race to how they're going to shut down oil and gas drilling on state lands. Right now, Texas is providing the majority of oil and gas produced for the entire United States. And most of that is because of how the Biden administration has effectively shut down drilling on federal lands. Texas is blessed. We have our drilling is on state land and private land. So we have been pretty immune to what the Biden administration has been trying to do through the Green New Deal for the rest of the country. But if we let Texas fall, if a Democrat wins this seat, they'll be shutting down the drilling on state lands. And you're looking at devastating effects from both our public education funding, our veterans education funding, but the real impact is what it does to our economy, what it does to the average person who can't put gas in their car because it's so expensive, so they can't get to work. Those are the kind of policies that the Democrats have right now that are really hurting average Americans and average Texans. And we want to fight against those policies and help our folks who are struggling most.
Well, that's a good point. There are two things that I've heard at the coffee shop over the last couple of days in San Angelo, and one of those is everybody's talking about how dadgum hot it is, and the other thing they're talking about is how dadgum expensive gasoline is.
Yes, I drive an F-250 diesel truck, a diesel hovering around $5 a gallon, give or take a little bit. It gets your attention when you fill that tank. So we're just going to keep fighting the good fight. We're going to work to bring down those prices. We're going to counter everything that the liberal left is trying to do, and we're going to fight hard to preserve Texas. It's worth fighting for.
All right, Don Buckingham, one last question. Is there anything that I have left out, any message that you have specifically for the voters? This is an open mic. You can say anything. I'm going to step out of the way, and it's between you and the voters. So take as much time as you need.
I appreciate you. I come from a diverse background. I grew up where I had to put myself through college. I know what it's like to have to struggle and have to work your way through things and find solutions. Besides being a practicing physician, besides running a couple small successful businesses on the side, I also manage my ranch. It's a corporate entity, have experience in rural Texas, truly care about stewarding our Texas acres. But the flip side of it, I've served on the school board. I've been the vice chair of the State Board of Educators certification. I currently serve Texas in the Senate, in Senate District 24, representing from Bandera to Temple to Abilene, 20,000 square miles of the heart of Texas. I am the battle-tested, proven, experienced conservative that is what it takes to run this agency. This agency has a $2.3 billion budget. It runs 3 separate funds that fund education and our veterans programs. Some of those are in excess of $60 billion. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that this agency also does everything disaster recovery, all of the federal funds and recovery efforts for hurricanes, floods, and fires, which amounts to, depending on the disasters that come in that year, tens of billions of dollars to hundreds of billions of dollars. This is not an entry-level position. And I've owned my own businesses. I've run successful businesses. I'm a proven conservative, and we need everyone to vote for Buckingham for Texas Land Commissioner. And you can find out more information at dawnbuckingham.com.
That is fantastic. I'm glad you included that. How do they find out more about you? That was going to be my last question. Dr. Dawn Buckingham, a candidate in the GOP primary runoff on May 24th for Land Commissioner of Texas. Early voting continues 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. here in San Angelo through Friday. And with that, Dawn, thank you so much again for visiting with us again today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and may God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas.